Well, hi everyone. Welcome to The Creative Woman, and thank you for returning viewers and thank you subscribers. So today I got my second request, actually yesterday, to read from the Karmic Astrology book again. North Node in Taurus, North Node in the second house, and that's South Node in Scorpio and South Node in the 8th house. And I want to thank you, viewer, for requesting that. This, whether you consciously know it or not, this is actually my South and North nodes as well. So I'm very, very thankful to be able to share this with you today, because I definitely know a lot about these two nodes. Okay, so let's get started. Okay. I'm going to leave the timestamps below so that those of you that just have your north and south nodes in the zodiacal sign, you'll be able to get to that, and those others of you that just have it in the second and 8th house, then you can read that as well without having to listen to everything that isn't for you, unless you want to, which is absolutely all right as well. Okay, so I'm going to start with Taurus North Node, Scorpio South Node. Okay. Here the soul is confronted with some of the most difficult karmic lessons in the zodiac. Past lives have been strewn with endings as the Plutonian force of Scorpio worked through its process of transformation. And for those of you that don't know, Pluto is the natural planet of the 8th house. That is the representation of that house, which has to do with, the 8th house has to do with sexually consummated relationships, has to do with, let's see, what was I going to say? Oh shoot, I forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, it's, transformation, rebirth and transformation, that's Pluto. And so it's getting to the bottom of the root of whatever that is, and specifically sexually consummated relationships, and it's other people's resources as well. So with the South Node, it's having to do with the misuse of your sexually consummated relationship and their things and resources and what have you. Now the individual is so frightened by the memory of having the rug constantly pulled out from under, and it says his feet, but I'm gonna just, so you're gonna hear me, I'm gonna change that, because, whether you're not just a male that's listening to this, of course, so it's male and female, or female. Okay, so let me start again. Now the individual, so frightened by the memory of having the rug constantly pulled out from under your feet, that you develop a defensive attitude toward all who offer you regenerative advice. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. In past incarnations, you literally went through the fires of hell to burn away your false values. Now, instead of falling back on the remains of Scorpio still within you, you must build through Taurus a new set of substantial values to live by. Again, absolutely true, absolutely true. Nearly all with these nodes have at one time touched the force of witchcraft. And so in the current life, there is to be a rude awakening about any remaining residue of the lower self. Absolutely, absolutely. Again, that's digging to the root. And again, um, I know this factually. And for each one of us, of course, it's going to be a little different, our experiences, but you're going to automatically, any of us with our south nodes, we're going to be living through this in this life. And so doing these things, and it's going to feel like this is what's going to get us what we need. Only it doesn't. It doesn't. But this is what's so amazing is, just like myself, before I knew this consciously in my life, before I started reading this, before I was shown and given the ability to start reading this and bringing this out into my conscious awareness, out of my subconscious, I just automatically replayed, just like we all do, replayed this and doing these cycles over and over again. In past incarnations, this individual also had to deal with a powerful sex drive which kept throwing you off balance. As a result, you're used to seeking gratification through all sorts of relationships which ultimately become destructive to the personal ego. Absolutely, absolutely. So with me specifically, I can definitely say that anything that any sexual gratification, any sexual encounter that I chose to involve myself in, I instinctually believed it felt like it was going to increase my self-worth. And so I would go into that just automatically, not consciously knowing that, of course, unconsciously thinking that it was going to assist me and increase my self-worth, but it didn't. Every single time, it actually did the opposite. It lowered my self-worth even more. So, but again, so I definitely went through that. And yeah, again, I want to say, I guess, and it is important to say, because Scorpio, working through that, there's going to be a lot of anger, a lot of rage, in fact, going on, and you might not even realize it. So that's definitely, in my case, absolutely bringing all that stuff up so I could take care of it instead of blaming it on someone else, which I did a great deal amount of that too, which gets into scapegoat. So I highly, highly recommend looking at and reading and researching narcissist and then scapegoat, because those of us that have this South Node in Scorpio are going to automatically be trying to push that on someone else, that rage, that anger, just push it on another, which is, you're going to be trying to find a scapegoat. And that's narcissistic behavior. And probably, if any of you have already read Narcissism, you will probably relate to some of that personality trait, whether it is naturally who you are, or you have embodied that temporarily because of the South Node. It doesn't matter. Okay. But it'd be very beneficial for actually all of us. You don't have to have this South Node. Every single one of us. It'd be very, very essential to read Narcissist and study and research Scapegoat, because it's very prevalent in our society, especially in the U.S. today. And that's what I found in researching my own stuff personally. I could then see it out in the world. And that's what's so beautiful, is you start releasing this stuff and being able to see what you do personally. And then you can also, you see it in others as well. And in, again, in general, in the world. Okay, let's see here now. Okay, in past incarnations, this individual, okay, I read that part. I'm going to read it again though, because I did pause. And I think that's very important to I know I'm interjecting, and I will try not to do only essential stuff. But let me go back a little bit and reread this. In past incarnations, this individual also had to deal with a powerful sex drive, which kept throwing him or her off balance. As a result, you're used to seeking gratification through all sorts of relationships, which ultimately become destructive to the personal ego. Then, confused and embittered by all you see toppling around you, you're almost glad to aid in the destruction of whatever little remains. Absolutely true. Most of the conditions in this life are still controlled from your subconscious level, buried deeply below the scrutinizing eyes of society. You may appear jovial and friendly, while in fact planning some mysterious adventure of intrigue inside. Very true, very true. The chart must be studied carefully to see just how far the soul has come out of Scorpio before an accurate interpretation can be given. For those already closer to Taurus, the violent churning of Scorpio is purposely avoided at all costs. For those just barely out of Scorpio, the internal revolutions are still going on. And here's another, okay, what I'm about to read, here's a very essential point. And those of you that have this South Node in Scorpio, you're going to want to check your natal chart. Planets conjunct either node will pull the individual toward that node and literally force you. You will be forced. So to live through it in the current life. So what that sentence means, and for all of you that have the South Node in Scorpio, check and see, do you have a planet that is either conjuncting your South Node or conjuncting your North Node? And I will read that too, because they have it in this book, because that is very, very, that is essential to know this. And I, in fact, have my Neptune conjuncting my South Node. So my South Node again is Scorpio, of course, that's what we're reading. And my Neptune is conjuncting my South Node in the 8th house in Scorpio. Neptune, Scorpio in the 8th house conjuncting my South Node, which means I was going to be, and absolutely was, forced to live through those experiences. I was being forced to live through those experiences in this life so that I could once and for all take care of, bring them out into the open consciously to my conscious awareness, so that I could actually take care of them once and for all, finally. And again, I will, after I'm done with this, I will read in the back of the book what that means when you, anyone, and this is any of us, any of you, you don't just have to have the Scorpio South Node either, but it specifically speaks, so it's doubly correct for those of us that have the Scorpio South Node. Okay. For all with these nodes, the past residue of revolution is of such powerful intensity that there is bound to be some after effect spilling over into your present life relationships with family members and close loved ones. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what I highly, highly recommend. Again, not just for Scorpio South nodes, but doubly for Scorpio South nodes. You, if at all possible, you do your mother's and your father's, both of them, mother and father. You do their natal wheel as well, and then you have your natal wheel, and you go through and with a fine-tooth comb the relationship between you and your mom and you and your father, and you will be able to see astrologically what's going on and why what has gone on or is going on or has gone on, because it's in the natal wheel. Absolutely. We are calling, because of our chart, each one of us is calling and these experiences and people into our lives the way that we have, because we are unconsciously wanting to take care of those things that need to be taken care of for us so that we can advance, each one of us. So again, there is no blame and no fault. And again, this is for those of us, I came into this life with a lot of guilt, a lot of fear, and of course a lot of anger that I've already said, just automatically in my cells, in my programming. And so those of you that happens to too, again, guilt comes from self-blaming, or just passed on genetically, blame from our ancestry, from our mom or our dad, grandma, grandpa, whoever that might be. And we're here now, and I'm here now to say no. Any guilt you have, it's past stuff, it's programmed into you, and because there is no and any shame also. We were given these things at birth, so how could we be have any, we're not, any of the guilt or shame that we might have has to do with laws and things that we have bought into or our parents have bought into. And that specifically, that's, if you want to call, I want to say the word, I'm going to say this word, sin, that is man-made to keep us guilty, to keep us down, to keep us enslaved, so that we don't get out of that. Okay, I know I'm saying a lot now, okay, but you research the truth. In fact, the truth is coming out in many, many ways. Okay, let's go on. Each day seems to be filled with new emergencies until one crisis built upon another creates such a turmoil of conflict that the individual is reduced to their most very basic struggle for survival. You don't yet know the art of moderation or how to take things at face value, for you still believe that others always have an ulterior motive. Inside you feel you must constantly escape from punishment, and in your escapes you leave behind you a tornado-like shambles of all you once held dear. At times you see others turning on you, but rarely do you stop long enough to understand that you are the cause. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. I can definitely say I've worked through all of this. I've seen all of this play out in my own self and in others around me as well. Whether you still are acting out this past incarnation in Scorpio or advancing through Taurus, your fixed stubbornness is very much a part of your ingrained way of doing things. You will make much growth when you are able to see the actions of others as reflections of your own subconscious. From past incarnations, you have become accustomed to attuning yourself to a peculiar brand of intensity, which, when not allowed to express itself, turns to anger. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. You've been deeply scarred with the pain of being hurt, and now, like a wounded animal, can be deadly to any who represent the slightest threat. So I want to go back and say, I'm getting strongly, I need to say, with this past incarnations, you have become accustomed to attuning yourself to a peculiar brand of intensity, which, when not allowed to express itself, turns to anger. And then this scarred, all of what I just, in the last couple of sentences that I have read, it has everything to do with just, there is a natural, like I said, a lot of anger. You have anger, and I had anger, being born with that because of this. So, and you're wanting to find and seeking out in the outside world, in your current environment, someplace to blame that anger on, when in fact you just came in with it, but you don't realize that, and it doesn't make sense that you just came in with it, because again, you're not consciously aware of that. So what we all naturally do is try and put that, try and have that feeling make sense to us in our current circumstance, how we're living now. And so you automatically are going to try and find a scapegoat to push that on. Someone innocent, some innocent bystander, innocent person. Unfortunately, this is just the way we work. And this is everybody, not just those of us that have this Scorpio South Node. This is just how we work instinctually. And so when you're not aware of that, of course, then that's where the blaming another, and you will even, again, like it said, you're going to set up a situation, you're going to set up a circumstance, you're going to, in order to back that angry feeling, in order to back that feeling up, that negative feeling that you have, that you came in with, you're going to try and, you're going to set up a situation and a circumstance so that you can justify pushing that feeling that you came in with that doesn't make sense to you on someone in your current life. Okay. So just now you can know that and be aware of that now. And when you're ready and being honest and truthful, then you can bring that out to yourself and see that and now know that that was not accurate. Absolutely not. Okay. It's tough. I'm not going to say this is easy by any means. No, not at all. Not for any of us. Our South Nodes are not easy, but they weren't meant to be easy. If it was easy, then everyone could just automatically do it. But no, we have to work through these things, these painful circumstances, painful things, because that is where we all do learn. Okay. On the lower levels of consciousness, individuals with these nodes can pursue their prey with a personal vendetta. Yes. And Scorpio naturally, just anything, any planet you have in Scorpio or in the 8th house is going to have that very killing nature, killing feeling. very destructive, on the lowest levels. That's just the way it is. That is Scorpio. And again, that's not a bad thing. I mean, we need to destroy certain things, like destroying this whole destructive behavior of South Node, for example, but not another being, not yourself. Putting to death is important. This type of behavior, this type of feelings, so that you can move on, that is important. So we do need destruction, but we have to be consciously aware of, so that we are putting that in its rightful place and destroying what must be destroyed, which is belief patterns, inaccurate belief patterns and feelings and all of that, instead of pushing that on another to actually kill another, because that can absolutely, that energy is a frequency. Thoughts are things, and they do kill. That is one of the huge things that, through my own specific process, that I have learned. Okay. Then when the pieces fall, they appear to be the innocent victims.